if you're not doing it by design, you will naturally fall into patterns and habits that are keeping you from these freedoms, versus an intentional business by design creates these freedoms. So the answer to this is actually in the trust cycle. And let me pull this in. If you're not doing it by design, you will naturally fall into patterns and habits that are keeping you from these freedoms, versus an intentional business by design creates these freedoms. So the answer to this is actually in the trust cycle. And let me pull this in. Okay, this might just be the best video that I ever do on this channel. So welcome to Coach Business Builder. These are the whiteboard sessions. And it's my favorite thing to get on a whiteboard and to talk about an idea visually. I'm such a visual person. It's really helpful to draw it out. And so I do these mini lessons with the whiteboard and do them in different locations. So today I am at the Lost Office in Richmond, Virginia. This is my company, Greenhouse, partners with them, and we do a lot of leadership offsites, and people can come to do deep work in the space that's really designed from neuroscience and from experience to help with focus. It's a beautiful spot. Show you here. We've got this is like an area where people can, it's the conversation pit, so they can hang out in a relaxed environment. It's so cool how much conversation opens up because of just the seating arrangement. You've got your touchscreen vibe boards there. And then the space I'm in here is more for kind of the meetings and this huge touchscreen. So anyway, so today we are talking about the 4 freedoms. And this might be the best video I ever do, because if you started a business or you're thinking about it, you probably did it for the sake of freedom and choice and flexibility in your life. The ability to do the kind of work you love and work with the people that you enjoy working with, to be able to work where you want, when you want, and to be able to design more of your life. And so what the 4 freedoms do is, just like our tagline, helps you grow the life that you want. Instead of the other way around, where, like in some of my past jobs, the job dictated my life. And that just seems backwards. Like, well, then we're not living, because we spend so much of our time at work. So if we're going to go through all of the hard work of building a business, let's do it intentionally. Let's design it for the life that we want. And that's what this video is about today. Because if we don't do this, we might end up creating a business that we hate. And I've seen that with different clients where they built this thing and it did get successful, but they were kind of just chasing the money and being reactive. And then one day they ended up with, a jail cell they built around themselves. So I want to help you think more intentionally about your business here today, and just let you know that, I'm still growing these 4 freedoms in my life too. Some of them I feel like very advanced on, and some feel still like baby steps. So I'm in this with you, but the idea is like a vision for where we want to go and what you want for your business and your life. Now, if you want to make sure you get all these videos, you got to get on the email club. The link's in the description. You sign up. I make sure all these videos get to you. But also the cool thing is, in the email club, I give you like a behind the scenes look at what is working for me in my business in real time. And so I'm sharing updates. I'm a very iterative person. So it's like, as I learn something, it's usually getting to you that week, if not a couple weeks later. But it's real time what I'm learning, what's working, especially as the ecosystem's changing so much with AI flooding in. The coaching, consulting landscape is changing so much. And as you've learned in my videos, like the way that you do content and marketing online is completely shifting. But the good news is it's for the better. It's actually shifting in a way that works better for your kind of business. Okay, so let's just dive into it. If you have heard of Dan Sullivan, he has a book called Who Not How. It's a must read as an entrepreneur. It's in my top 10 books on our website, greenhousecoaching.co. you'll see on the resources tab, I have a section of my favorite books. You can go look. That's one of them. And he has a bunch of other books because he serves entrepreneurs and has all kinds of programs and different books that are helpful. This concept comes from him. And so what I'm just doing is trying to summarize for you a bit this idea of the 4 freedoms. And he says these are the 4 categories of the type of freedom, flexibility, and choice you're trying to create. And so the first one is time freedom. And that just means you have the control over how you spend your time. I mean, none of us have complete control, but significantly more control than in most jobs. And so your activities can be aligned with your values and goals. And isn't this like such a huge part of the benefit of entrepreneurship? Getting clear on what I value, what my goals are, and then aligning the stuff I spend so much time doing every day with that, versus being bogged down by tasks that really drain your energy. And I have felt that so much in past jobs. So, for me, a great example is now I have entire days every week called deep work days, where I do stuff like create this video. And I'm not scattered and running from meeting to meeting and emails and tasks in reactive mode. Like, I just get to be present. I get to do great work that I love doing. And it's something I was able to design through business. But also things like travel. I hated the idea in corporate world of like vacation days and these limited like slices of, hey, this is like when you're allowed to live. And then the rest of your life, you're not allowed to live. It just made no sense to me. I want work and life to be like working together in tandem. So, just tomorrow I'm headed on a trip for a week, and it's like, I don't have to ask someone's permission or try to like finagle it. It's just, oh, this is something that makes sense. And so I'm gonna do it. All right, then the second freedom is money freedom. So this is the idea of financial independence, to have choice, to choose the things you want to do. And that is lifestyle, that's pursuing your dreams, that's contribution and giving and helping people, versus this survival scarcity way of living that, even if you have a great paying job, sometimes it still feels that way because you don't have the upside potential that you have in business. Then there's relationship freedom. And this is like the ability to spend time with the people who matter most to you. And again, just having that sense of choice. But also, and for me, this is big, like nurturing those relationships, spending time and also investing thought. Like, okay, the freedom to know, hey, these are the people I want to spend time with, and I'm going to actually really invest myself more in those relationships, versus a lot of your relational time being dictated by someone or something else. And then the last one, and perhaps the biggest, is purpose freedom. And this is the ability to pursue your interests, your passions, your callings, versus like external constraints and pressures that are kind of forcing you to spend your time in other areas. So this is really where it's about meaning versus reactive living, just because of other people's expectations, or, living just for the money, working just for the money. There's so much more, money is just a tool and a vehicle to other things in life. And so the meaning is where it really matters. And, I've coached multiple business owners who sold their companies for millions and millions of dollars, and they still felt trapped, and they actually felt more stuck than ever. And you've heard these stories. I mean, so many celebrities have clued us into the idea that, man, sometimes when you reach that level, if you don't know what you want out of life, what you want to do with that money and opportunity, it actually makes it worse. So it's not that money's bad or good, but what I believe is it's just a tool. And so if you know what you're aiming for in life, then you can use it towards those ends. But if you don't, then you can get very stuck with that. So, hey, I mean, take this how you want. For me, the 4 freedoms are not like the ultimate thing. I actually believe that there's more to just like trying to choose and design everything we want. Like that to me is actually a bit self-focused, but that doesn't negate the fact that like these freedoms are really empowering and valuable. So here's the thing. These freedoms, or some mix of them, are why you started your business. I mean, at the heart of it, that's usually why you wanted to pursue this path. And the problem is, if it's like you're not going to be able to get to these just by business alone. It has to be business by design. Because just business alone is going to actually force you into more busyness and more reactive living that is keeping you from these things. So it's got to be business by design. Otherwise, it crushes the freedoms for 2 reasons. One is busyness without results. And you might have experienced this, where I know I have. Like, I built all this overwhelming, complicated stuff I'm trying to manage, and they're not actually producing results. But now that overwhelm is trapping me in busyness instead of freedom. But secondly, these old habits die hard, and especially if you came out of like the corporate world, those kind of habits kill your productivity. And so if you're not doing it by design, you will naturally fall into patterns and habits that are keeping you from these freedoms, versus an intentional business by design creates these freedoms. So the answer to this is actually in the trust cycle. And let me pull this in. So I have a whole video that I'll link at the end here that dives into this in detail. But here's the idea. Like, the trust cycle flips this problem on its head. Instead of busyness without results, you have a few steps that actually work, and you have a clear path versus disconnected things. I used to have all kinds of social media posts and videos and lead generators and sales activities, but they were all like disconnected things that weren't leading people from stranger to client. It was just activities. And so people actually got lost in all of that. The trust cycle gives you a clear, connected path that tells people the next step to take. And it's the steps that actually work. So you're not wasting energy and time on things that don't work. So you get rid of the complexity. Secondly, instead of these bad habits killing productivity, you get proactive. The trust cycle is highly proactive instead of reactive. It gives you time to create because it limits the amount of activities that need to happen and puts them on autopilot. And then your steps are known. So you're not rehashing every day and every conversation like, oh shoot, what should I do? Where should I point this person? What should I focus on? What should I, a new trend, a new thing I'm supposed to try? It's just like, the steps, they're set up, and it's always the same. So if someone's at this step and they're showing interest, I know the next step for them is here. And so you can guide people really clearly. So here's just a quick overview, and then I'll link the video at the end that dives in detail. But basically, what you do is you have a core ad on Instagram, ideally Instagram, your short form platform. And the thing you're doing there is you're asking people to follow you. Now that they follow you, they're getting your short form content. And in your short form content, you guide them to your long form content, which is a core video on YouTube. In that core video, you're building trust, building relationship, because it's long form, and you're asking them to DM you when they're interested in what you have to offer and working with you. And so all your long form content continues to say that. So when they're ready, they know what to do and they get your core offer. The core offer is obviously inviting them to sign up for your program. And you have one simple way that you offer your program in 3 or 4 different modes. In that program, they're getting the transformation that they want. And so the people who get those transformation, you can share their case study as a story, which feeds back into the virtuous cycle. And this is the simplest. I've actually tried over 9 years. I've put more than $200,000 into testing and trying different funnel systems online. This is by far the simplest and definitely the most effective. But the real reason I love it is because it takes what you do naturally in person and puts it online. It scales it in a way that isn't you trading time for money. And so it's this incredible system because it builds trust and it's authentic and genuine. And instead of what funnels do is they force people to buy at a time they're not ready. What this does is it continues to nurture a trust-filled relationship until they're ready. And then whenever they're ready, they know the next step to take. And so it feels good to everybody, but it also is way more effective because you don't need a huge audience. You're just actually finding the right people, building a lot of trust with them until they're ready to work with you. So let me just quickly dive into like why each of these steps matter and make such a big difference. First of all, on social, this is a better approach because you only have one platform instead of managing a ton, and you get to tailor the content. So you get to tailor the content to that platform and what works best on that platform. And when you're dividing between all these platforms, it's impossible to do that. Secondly, is with ads. Instead of tons of ads that take a lot of time to create and a lot of money to test, and they're difficult to manage, or you have to pay someone to manage, you just have one ad. And this one ad is highly effective because it's calling out to the right people and giving a clear CTA. So you don't have to have all these bookers and closers, and you don't get a huge audience of the wrong followers, which hurts the algorithm. You get the right followers. Then when you ask them to follow, guess what? Like, it's an easy CTA, and it's so much better than lead generators, which create a lot of friction. Like, those are dead. That idea of like, give me your email, do all these steps, that's long gone, and it's gonna keep people from engaging with you. So you don't have that, but you also don't have this funnel dynamic where it's like, okay, squeeze page, workshop, sales page, buy right now. And if they don't buy right now, you lose them forever. And so the funnels are also just gone for coaches and consultants because it doesn't build enough trust, and ad cost is way too high to get the kind of volume you need to have 0.01% fall at the bottom and buy your services. Then this commenting, which is how you lead people from short form to long form. A simple trigger on ManyChat, and you'll see it on my posts. Every post is, hey, comment this word in order to get the video or get the thing I'm talking about. And that simple trigger gets them over to my YouTube so they can subscribe, and it gets them onto my email list, which is the one platform I can truly control. So now, in just a couple clicks, they are short form, long form email, and when they get this core video, they're essentially getting my whole methodology, all of how I do things, not holding any information back, all in this core video. It's super compelling. All right, now in this mix, you're also starting conversations in the DMs. And so this kicks off a genuine conversation where you're actually helping them. Like, it's amazing. So now the algorithm's loving it because you have good interaction. You're building real relationships, not fake bot-driven stuff. And like, this is getting people ready to purchase from you without sales calls. So then you get to the beautiful part at the end. They're on YouTube and email. They're seeing that you're real. You're building a relationship, and they're getting a sense for your method and your vibe. Think of it this way. People don't want to be sold anymore. I mean, when did you ever like this in the past 10 years where someone knocks on your door and is trying to sell you something or cold calls you? No one wants that, because now with the internet, we can go search and we can do all the research and figure out what we want before we go buy, so we can avoid the awkward conversation and just buy it. And so this allows them to try you on for size and get to know your approach and learn information before they're asked to buy. And so the core video actually pre-sells people. Beautiful thing. This is what allows you to get rid of your cluttered calendar of discovery and sales calls. So when they're ready, they know how to get your offer. And this is what allows you to get more to those freedoms because you're not having to spend so much time chasing people down. So it's a much higher conversion rate. My conversion rate has gone way up through this. And, at the end of the day, this is like authentic, it's real, and it's helpful. So if this is something you want to do, if you're ready to implement this in your business and start getting results, start getting to that next 20K a month revenue goal, then go over on Instagram and DM me the word grow20 on Instagram, and I'll send you all the information. You will get to experience my version here and my offer. But I'll link the video here of diving into the trust cycle in more depth. But this is kind of the path for you towards the 4 freedoms in your life and in your business.